Chapter 12, Delivering Your Speech. So we've talked about the importance of organizing your speech and making sure that you have clear content and researching your speech and making sure that you have valuable information throughout your presentation. The next step of that is to make sure that your delivery of your speech really adds to the overall organization and material, that you've done all this prep work ahead of time. And then the way that you present your speech really makes sure that you have impact. So there's methods of delivery that we're going to discuss. 4 methods: manuscript, memorized, impromptu, and extemporaneous. Manuscript delivery: the speech is written and the speaker reads it word for word to the audience. This is most commonly used when you have a teleprompter to deliver your speech. So think of newscasters or the president when he addresses the nation. The benefits is that everything's written very carefully, word for word. It's helpful for those in positions where every word is scrutinized and any mistake can be devastating. So think about your politicians or newscasters. The drawbacks is that it does require a great deal of practice to be done effectively and naturally. Speakers appear to be engaging with the audience, but it's really not. If the speaker doesn't have a teleprompter, then the speaker is looking down and reading the presentation word for word, which doesn't allow the opportunity for engaging with the audience. A memorized speech is when a speaker memorizes the speech word for word, and they commit it to memory and they recite that to the audience verbatim. There are very few benefits of this type of presentation. It's only workable if you have a really short presentation. It doesn't allow for a natural speaking style because you're so focused on your words and what are you going to say next, and are you going to remember what happens next in your speech? So a lot of times speakers that try to memorize, they don't have very good eye contact. They're looking away from the audience because they don't want any kind of distraction to lead to them not being able to remember their presentation. An impromptu speech is a speech that's made up on the spot. It's unprepared and unrehearsed. The benefits is that basically you don't have to practice or you don't have to prepare. The drawbacks are that sometimes when we are put on the spot and we're not prepared, we just don't know what we want to say. We may lack organization and we may not be able to really communicate clearly what our thoughts are. Extemporaneous is the type of speech that you're going to be given in this class. It's not completely written out. It's usually delivered with key notes for reference. Extemporaneous speeches are carefully prepared and rehearsed, but delivered using notes of keywords and phrases to support you, the speaker. The benefits is that provide you with notes to refer to when you need them, and it allows you to engage with the audience and build a rapport by having eye contact. And it also allows for flexibility in your words. You're not tied to a certain way that you have to say something. It gives you some flexibility. The drawbacks are that it does require a great deal of practice. It requires the speaker to be familiar with the content of the speech, and it requires the speaker to work on their notes ahead of time to make sure they're really comfortable with them and they're of the most useful for them. Vocal aspects of delivery. When you present a speech, it's very important that you articulate clearly, that we say things in a way that are very clear. Articulation is how well and correctly we form our vowels and consonants using our lips, jaw, tongue, and palate to form the sounds that are identified as speech. Diction and enunciation is saying going to instead of gonna. Pronunciation is proper articulation applied to a given word. So make sure if you are unsure of a pronunciation of a word that you work hard to remember that word correctly. And sometimes it helps to spell it how you think it should have been spelled. That would allow you to know right when you glance down how to say a word. Quality of the voice is timbre. It's distinctive sound and texture of your voice. It affects audibility and can affect the articulation of your voice. Pitch is how high or low your voice is. Each of us has a range of tone, and changing pitch conveys meaning, and this is called voice inflection. Tempo is how fast or slow or the rate that you speak. I know some of us are naturally fast talkers. I am. That's something I have to work on. And many of us, if we get nervous, we begin to speak even faster. So just consider that if you're one of those people and you're timing your speech for your presentation and you want to make sure you meet the time requirement, but you also know that you're right there on the time. But if you get nervous and it goes faster, it would make you under time. So just be thoughtful of how fast you speak. Make sure that it's easy for the audience to follow you and understand you. And I will say going too slow is no better than going too fast. Some students go really slow and steady. And so when you think about adding interest in your speech, it's kind of hard to do that if your rate doesn't vary. Pauses, avoid fillers when you have a pause. Things like us, ums, likes, those things are the words that we say when we're not sure what we're saying next, and we don't want to have silence. So just be aware of that. Some of us, we do it naturally in conversation anyway. It's going to happen sometimes. But some students, if you're not really sure of your content, if you haven't fully practiced your speech and you're not comfortable with it, the uhs and ums come very, very frequently. And so you really have to be careful of that because you don't want that to distract from your overall presentation. Volume of voice projection is how loud or soft your voice is. So make sure that you're at a volume that's easy to hear and understand, but not too loud that it's uncomfortable. And don't speak softly. It's very important sometimes, especially with the online class and students have video of their speech. I can tell that they don't want many people in the house to hear it. And they're speaking very soft and barely heard. Voice projection is very important. It says how confident you are in the material. Nonverbal aspects of voice: consider dress. Make sure to dress appropriately. Make sure that nothing that you're wearing is distracting your audience from what you're saying. Think about if you wear a lot of jewelry or bracelets. If you have bracelets that rattle every time you do something, consider that's distracting from your presentation. Make sure your hair doesn't cover your face or is falling in a way that it requires you to constantly tuck it back in your head, behind your ears. This is something I've noticed for some students. It's a nervous tick and they're constantly moving their hair. So just make sure it's in a way that it's not distracting you or the audience. Step to the podium with confidence, not in dread, like I see too many times. With body language, make sure that your posture and your gestures and your presence convey an air of confidence. Gestures and movement should be purposeful and it emphasize what you are saying, and be careful about talking with your hands or pacing. Facial expressions convey various meaning of emotion to your audience. Some people are naturally animated, and so the facial expressions come naturally. Others that are more stoic, you have to work to make sure that your full presence is showing your investment in the material that you're sharing. Eye contact: audience must feel interested in the speaker and know that you care about them. And good eye contact takes practice and solidifies the relationship between the speaker and the audience. A speaker should include 80 to 90% of the delivery time with eye contact. Mastering your location. When you have a speech opportunity, make sure that you're comfortable with the room. Check out the podium. Make sure that you're comfortable with where you're going to stand. If it doesn't have a lectern, practice standing with good posture. If you're using technology, check that prior to giving your speech and make sure everything's working correctly. If there's a microphone, practice with the microphone. Always consider taking a bottle of water in case you need to drink or hydrate your vocal cords in the middle of your presentation. And also taking a sip can also help you achieve a pause for effect. Preparation, practice, and delivery. Once you've created your outline, make sure to begin practicing. Prepare note cards or cue sheets that you have enough information to be able to deliver your speech. Make sure to number your note cards for organizational purposes. I like the note cards that have the spiral book that's attached so that it's easier and they don't get out of order. Rehearse your speech aloud, ideally with an audience, and make sure that your introduction and conclusion is polished, as that's the first and the last impression your audience has of you. I hope this information will help you as you begin practicing for your presentations this semester. I look forward to hearing all of them. And most importantly, I look forward to seeing growth in your presentation abilities as we move throughout the semester.